Have you ever stopped to think that the poverty you so badly want to overcome may be something you are feeding every single day? If you feel like your life is only moving backward, like your money is going into a bottomless bag, then this video is for you. You do not get out of financial chaos because you are protecting the pattern that keeps you poor. And if you watch until the end, you will discover that your biggest financial problem is not in your bank account. It is in the invisible pattern you still have not had the courage to break. Today, you will understand that prosperity is not just about money, but about having the ability to break the barriers that get in the way of our success. Many people are tired of working, getting paid, paying bills, staying in debt, trying to start over, and promising that next month everything will be different. But when the month turns, the story seems to repeat itself. The money comes in, disappears, the debts remain, the financial life gets stuck again, and financial peace feels far away. It is as if the person is running on a treadmill, moving, sweating, trying hard, getting exhausted. But when they look around, they are still in the same place. And maybe you know this feeling from the inside, not as a theory, but as reality. I work so hard and I do not prosper. My money disappears. There is never anything left. But today, I need to tell you something strong. Maybe your biggest problem is not just a lack of money. Maybe it is what you continue feeding without realizing it. Because poverty does not always enter a person's life like a huge tragedy. Many times, it is fed every day by small decisions, wrong financial habits, impulses, uncontrolled desires, comparison, pride, and lack of discipline. The person tries to organize the bank account, but does not organize the mind, tries to get out of debt, but does not correct the invisible patterns, tries to prosper, but continues sustaining financial chaos. And here is the paradox. Many people ask for more money, but if they received more money today, maybe they would only increase the size of the disorder. Because more money without financial wisdom does not heal a stuck life. Many times, it only turns a small chaos into a more expensive chaos. Proverbs reveals that prosperity is not just a matter of opportunity, luck, or a high salary. The Bible teaches that the wise person saves, the prudent person plans, the diligent person builds, the disciplined person moves forward, but the foolish person wastes, acts on impulse, and consumes everything that passes through their hands. So this video is not here to excuse the mistake, but it is also not here to condemn you. It is here to wake you up, strengthen you, and show you a new direction. Because you do not have to keep living putting out fires, tired of starting over, financially trapped, and feeling like prosperity is not for you. There is a path of correction, self-control, planning, biblical wisdom, and real building. But it begins when you stop feeding what is making you poor. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel, because here we talk about the wisdom of Proverbs applied to real life. Here you understand why this happens to you and how to make the necessary adjustment so everything can improve. And write in the comments, I will have a prosperous life. Because sometimes change begins when a person stops blaming only the salary, the crisis, and other people, and starts looking with courage at their own patterns. And if you have the humility to see this, maybe you will discover that poverty is not only in the pocket. It may be getting fed by the decisions you repeat every day. You may even think your financial life is stuck because of a major tragedy, a huge debt, an unexpected loss, or a difficult season. But look, many times financial chaos does not begin with a loud explosion. It begins silently, in the small choices nobody sees. It starts with a purchase you did not need, a little installment that seemed harmless, a card used without thinking, a delivery order to relieve the stress of the day. Then comes a forgotten subscription, another emotional purchase, another I deserve it, another just this once. And when you realize it, the money does not stay. And then the person discovers that poverty was not always fed by a major fall, but by small permissions repeated every day. Think about a house with a small leak in the roof. At first, it seems like a small thing. One drop here, another there, a little stain on the ceiling, nothing that looks so urgent. But if nobody fixes it, that drop becomes mold, the mold becomes damage, the damage weakens the structure, and one day the ceiling starts to give in. That is how many financial lives collapse, not because the person does not work, not because they do not try, but because they ignore the leaks. The money comes in, but it escapes through impulses, emotional purchases, lack of planning, and decisions made in the heat of the moment. And this is where wisdom begins to confront you with love. Stop treating small decisions as if they carry no weight. Before spending, ask yourself, do I really need this, or am I trying to soothe an emotion? Ask, does this fit my life, or does it only fit my desire? Ask, does this decision bring me closer to financial peace, or does it trap me in another bill? Because Proverbs reveals that the plans of the diligent lead to abundance, but careless haste pushes a person toward poverty. And this is only the first leak that needs to be exposed. One of the reasons many people never get out of poverty is not because they never make money, but because they never learn to say no to themselves. The person says no to the future, but says yes to impulse. Says no to savings, but says yes to immediate pleasure. Says no to building wealth, but says yes to appearance, to comparison, to that desire that shows up out of nowhere and seems to command them. And without realizing it, they keep feeding financial chaos with uncontrolled desires, emotional purchases, and wrong decisions that seem small, but carry a heavy price. Look, the problem is not wanting good things. Wanting comfort, beauty, pleasure, and a better life is not wrong. The problem begins when every desire becomes an order, when the person sees it, wants it, and buys it, feels like doing it and does it, gets sad and spends, gets anxious and pays in installments. Sometimes they are not buying a product, they are trying to buy relief, a feeling, an escape for a few minutes. But that relief passes quickly, and the bill stays for months, taking away financial peace, increasing debts, and reinforcing that painful feeling. I work so hard, and I do not prosper. It is like trying to feel better for 5 minutes, and then waking up trapped in a bill that seems to say, you will pay for this emotion for a long time. Proverbs reveals that in the house of the wise there is desirable treasure and oil, but the foolish person wastes everything he has. This shows something very strong. The wise person saves, preserves, manages, plans. The foolish person consumes everything, devours everything, lets money come in and go out with no direction. So the question is not only, how much do I make? But how much of what I make am I able to preserve? Because prosperity is not only money coming in, prosperity is retention, financial wisdom, self-control, prudence, and daily discipline. Whoever does not control desire never controls money, and when desire governs, there is another silent enemy waiting to enter, the appearance of wealth. Many people are not truly trying to prosper, they are trying to impress. They want to look good, look stable, look successful, look like they are winning, even when inside they are tired, under pressure, and without financial peace. And this is one of the most dangerous invisible patterns. Spending money, they do not have to sustain an image that is not real. The person buys to be seen, pays in installments to be admired, gets into debt to appear strong, and uses appearance as a mask to hide financial chaos. But a beautiful image does not pay debt, does not create savings, does not organize financial life, and does not build freedom. This happens because the modern world has turned comparison into an addiction. The person opens social media and sees edited lives, edited houses, edited trips, edited bodies, edited smiles, and starts feeling like they are falling behind. So instead of building a solid life, they start chasing a display window, trying to prove something to people who do not even pay their bills. And look, this kind of pride is expensive. It charges the card, weighs on the bills, steals sleep, and keeps many people financially trapped. It is like painting the front of a house while the structure is cracking. Outside, it looks beautiful, but inside, it is dangerous. Proverbs reveals something extremely current when it says there are those who pretend to be rich and have nothing, and those who pretend to be poor and have great wealth. This shows that the appearance of wealth is not prosperity. Sometimes it is just well-dressed poverty, photographed debt, and financial disorder with a pretty filter. Biblical wisdom does not call you to live for applause, but to build a foundation that remains when nobody is watching. So trade the question, how do I look to others, for how is my life really doing when the door closes, the screen turns off, and the bills arrive? Because the appearance of wealth can be one of the most silent forms of poverty, and many people only realize this after working hard and still building nothing. This is a deep pain because many people work hard but feel like they are not getting anywhere. The person wakes up early, runs, makes an effort, pays one bill, delays another, renegotiates one debt, gets into another, takes a side job, tries to breathe. But when they look at their own financial life, they do not see building, they do not see savings, they do not see financial growth, they do not see financial peace. They only see survival, exhaustion, bills, pressure, debt, and that heavy feeling of always going back to the same place. And then a painful question is born inside. How can I work so much and still be broke? The answer is hard, but necessary. Many times the work is being used to sustain disorder, not to build a future. It is not that effort has no value. The problem is effort without strategy, work without direction, money entering a life full of leaks. It is like someone trying to fill a bucket with holes. The person carries water, gets tired, sweats, tries hard, but the bucket never fills. They blame the amount of water but do not look at the holes, and many people blame only their income but do not observe the holes in their behavior. Purchases driven by anxiety, too many installments, lack of a budget, pride, comparison, lack of savings, and financial help without limits for other people can devour everything. Proverbs teaches that in all labor there is profit, but mere talk leads to poverty. This means that work has power, yes, but work needs to be connected to financial wisdom, planning, prudence, and course correction. You need to stop only running and start asking, where is my money escaping? Which debt is draining me? Which habit is sabotaging me? Because diligence is not just working hard. Diligence is working with direction, spending with awareness, correcting invisible patterns, and turning effort into real building. Work without wisdom may even tire you, but it will not necessarily free you. And that is why the next step requires something many people avoid: accepting correction. Many people say they want to prosper, but they do not want to be corrected. They want a new life, but they keep defending old habits. They want to get out of debt, but they justify every emotional purchase, every impulse expense, every wrong decision that keeps their financial life stuck. They want financial peace, but they do not accept limits. They want financial growth, but they get offended when someone tells them the truth. And here comes a necessary confrontation. Whoever rejects correction protects exactly the pattern that is destroying their prosperity. Sometimes the person knows they need to change, but prefers to make excuses. They say it is just a season, that later they will get organized, that next month they will start, that the purchase was necessary, that everybody lives in debt anyway. But deep down, they know they are sustaining financial chaos with pride, financial disorder, and lack of discipline. It is like someone driving with the GPS saying, recalculating route, but getting irritated with the warning and continuing on the wrong road anyway. Then they complain that they never reached the destination, when in reality they rejected the correction that could have saved the journey. Proverbs reveals that whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction remains trapped in their own foolishness. This word is strong but necessary because biblical wisdom does not treat correction as humiliation. It treats correction as deliverance. So ask yourself honestly, what do I not want to admit? What financial habit do I keep justifying? What desire is governing my money? Financial maturity begins when you stop defending the mistake and start learning from it without pride, without running away, without beautiful excuses. Because poverty remains strong when a person calls freedom what deep down is a lack of discipline, and without wisdom to manage it, even more money can become more chaos. Many people believe that if they made more money, all their problems would end. But this is one of the most dangerous illusions of financial life, because more money in a disorganized mind only increases the size of the chaos. Whoever does not manage little with wisdom can waste much with speed. Whoever does not control impulse with little can get even deeper in debt when they have more options, more credit, more limit, and more appearance to sustain. Money does not heal internal disorder. Many times it only reveals what was already out of place. That is why some people increase their income, but still keep saying, "My money disappears. There is never anything left. I earn, but I do not build anything." The problem is not only how much comes in, it is where it goes, who governs it, what desire commands it, what impulse decides, what invisible pattern is still in control. It is like someone wanting to build a house, starting with the roof, because they want to see the beautiful result quickly, but they ignore the foundation. But wealth without a foundation does not remain. Prosperity without financial wisdom becomes financial haste, dangerous shortcuts, and waste. And in the end, the person realizes that more money without more discipline only created a more expensive chaos. Proverbs reveals that the diligent hand makes rich, and that wealth built little by little increases over time. This shows that sustainable prosperity is not born from haste, but from consistency, prudence, planning, correction, and self-control. Start small, but start with order. Spend less than you make. Cut waste. Pay debts with strategy. Build savings. Avoid emotional purchases. Learn before investing, seek wise counsel, stop acting on impulse, and understand that God does not only bless the desire to prosper, He also guides the process of maturing. Because more money without more wisdom does not create prosperity. It creates a more expensive chaos. And now we need to look at the root that decides whether you will keep feeding poverty or start building freedom. Stop feeding poverty. And I am not talking only about poverty in the bank account, lack of money, debts, or that desperation when the bill arrives and you do not know how you are going to pay it. I am talking about the poverty of wrong financial habits, the poverty of haste, the poverty of comparison, the poverty of impulse and uncontrolled desires. I am talking about the poverty of trying to look good on the outside while on the inside your financial life is silently falling apart. Because sometimes what traps a person is not only how much they make, but the pattern they keep repeating, even though they know it is destroying their peace. Proverbs reveals that prosperity does not begin only when you make more. It begins when you decide to become a wiser person. A person who thinks before spending, who plans before acting, who controls their desires before their desires control their life. A person who accepts correction, who stops justifying the mistake, who abandons pride and begins to adjust what is in their hands. Because financial wisdom is not only knowing how to do the math, it is having self-control when impulse screams, prudence when haste calls, and discipline when desire tries to command. And here is a truth that can confront you, but can also set you free. You cannot build a new life while feeding the same old patterns. If you keep feeding impulse, you will reap debt. If you keep feeding comparison, you will reap anxiety. If you keep feeding disorder, you will reap financial chaos. If you keep feeding excuses, you will reap financial stagnation, work without results, and effort without building. But if you start feeding wisdom, discipline, prudence, diligence, planning, and self-control, something inside you begins to change even before everything around you changes. Maybe your financial life will not change completely in a single day, and that is okay. But when you change direction, the destination begins to change too. When you cut waste, when you organize your debts, when you stop buying out of emotion, when you start saving even if it is little, you stop living in chaos and start building financial peace. And God is not only interested in giving you resources, He also wants to form in you the maturity to manage what He places in your hands. Because wealth built without wisdom can be lost, but a life guided by biblical principles begins to walk in a new direction. So I want to ask you, what are you going to stop feeding starting today? What emotional purchase do you need to cut? What excuse do you need to abandon? What debt do you need to face with courage? What financial habit do you know is sabotaging your prosperity, but you still continue justifying? Do not run from these questions, because maybe the financial freedom you desire so much begins exactly at the point where you stop lying to yourself. If this message spoke to you, write in the comments, "I will only feed prosperity." Write this as a commitment to a new direction. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep receiving messages about wisdom, prosperity, discipline, and principles from Proverbs applied to real life. Like this video and share it with someone who needs to understand that financial life does not change only when money increases, but when wisdom begins to govern decisions.